Hi, I'm Bob Batcher, and this is Women in the Wind. I love that, but what is the wind? Well, Tidewater Winds has been around since about 1985. It is a fantastic group of professional musicians who bring music to Hampton Roads throughout the summer, and all of their concerts are free. And we're going to explain how all that works over the next half hour, 45 minutes with four very special people. The role I'm going to play is agitator and kind of a facilitator of conversation, because I got four glorious women with me who know how to play an instrument that I don't know how to do. My experience, in full disclosure, with Tidewater Winds is for years I was an awesome fan. And Becky is going to talk a little bit about during the Pete Decker years of Tidewater Winds. I was there at Chrysler Hall and their Harrison Opera House, and in some of those big productions that the Tidewater Winds did when Pete Decker was in. And then I just enjoyed the band. Next thing I knew, I was behind stage, stumbling over Lisa, getting to a microphone to make announcements, and then went back into the audience to enjoy it. And then they asked me, in full disclosure, to join the board. And I have the pleasure of being on the board with a couple of these women. And so it's a tremendous experience. We want to take you on a journey so you can experience behind the scenes at Tidewater Winds with the women that are a vital part of that. Becky Peppard.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Okay.
Now you're joining us because you have a very long history, not a long, but a long history with Tidewater Winds as what kind of performer?
I played horn all the time I was in.
Okay. And when did you join?
I played the first season, so I was there in '85.
Okay, so you were there with Sidney Bird when he was figuring
Yes,
it
I
all
was.
out. Awesome. So what was your favorite piece of music that first year? It had to be a John Philip Sousa, right?
Possibly. Geez, that goes back so far, I don't remember what pieces.
Yeah, I know the feeling well. Okay, now Lisa Farrell.
Yes.
You perform with the Tidewater Winds, and what do you perform?
I'm a percussionist.
Now, okay, so how many instruments is that?
I've a lot. I've played timpani during the July 4th events on the beach, and then anything from mallets, chimes, bells, bass drum, snare drum, cymbals, triangle, all the accessories, or toys as they call them.
Well, I was going to say, not to call you out, but there are some things you guys call an instrument that I don't think is really an instrument.
We do have a lot of things that are considered sound effects and special instruments, but it's a lot of fun.
Now, when did you join the Tidewater Winds?
I actually played my first summer out of college in '03. I believe that was with Alice Sershin, and then I came back to it in the past few years with John Brewington.
All right. So we're going to talk about your history with it too, because you came as an intern, didn't you?
No. I came
Just a very young person.
Yes.
Okay. Stephanie Sanders, you play one of my favorite instruments to listen to.
I play the bassoon.
So what made you decide to play the bassoon?
Oh, the bassoon, B-A-S-S-O-O-N.
There we go. What made you decide to play that?
My band director, I'm a saxophonist, and he told me he needed a bassoonist, and he gave me a bassoon, and he told me, back then we didn't have the internet, that you can how to put things together and do things. He said, if you can put it together and play 3 notes for me, I will pay for your first 4 lessons. And that was almost close to 40 years ago. And I've been playing bassoon ever since, and my bassoon is paid for my education. So.
All right. Now, Becky, and I let her off the hook temporarily, just said she played the horn.
Yes.
So do you play the family of reed instruments?
I play all of the woodwinds, actually, because that's what I was hired for, to play all the woodwinds. But I mainly, with the Tidewater Winds, I've just solely played bassoon.
Okay, cool. Bet Cake. Now, you and I are in meetings together. Should I ask what instrument you play?
I am not a band. I'm not in the band. I am happy to support the band and listen to the band at every chance I get.
Now you started coming to the band as part of a couple.
I did. My late husband, Stuart Cake, has been involved with the Tidewater Winds, I think, since maybe the inception. He was very involved in different community organizations and he loved music. He played the trumpet years ago, and he had, gotten on the board for the Tidewater Winds and loved going to all the concerts, and people that knew him may remember how he used to run up and down the aisles and make sure everybody had their program and make sure everybody was happy and enjoying themselves. And he was just a fixture at the concerts. And sometimes he would announce at different times. And so when I first met him, I was actually living in Richmond, and it's a kind of a long story how we met, but we ended up deciding that we should get married. And one of the first things he took me to when I came to visit Virginia Beach was Tidewater Winds. So when we got married, then I instantly became a fixture at the concerts along with him and enjoyed meeting the people. And so I have, even though he passed away in 2018, the Winds gave him a beautiful tribute in their program and on stage. And so I've been happy to join the board sort of in his place and try to help make sure the music continues.
Man, I got to ask you, I've asked them their first pieces they played. So you had a date coming to the Tidewater Winds concert from out
That's
of
right.
town. Did he take you to dinner before the concert? Because did you know it was a free concert and it was a cheap date?
It was. Actually, I think we went afterwards. We ended up getting the habit of eating kind of late, and I think we went somewhere and got a hamburger after the concert.
So we spent a couple of bucks anyway. I'm just checking. Okay, so let's talk about why the performance world, Becky. I mean, you joined. Now I understand you were you in the military playing?
Yes, I was the horn instructor for the Armed Forces School of Music. Yes.
Because I think a lot of people who might be watching this don't realize that school is located where?
Little Creek Base.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, right here.
So did you travel the world doing that? Or were you stuck at Little Creek?
I spent 10 years of my career at the School of Music teaching horn. So that was pretty much my world. That was supposed to be my world until I retired at 20 years. It didn't happen that way though. In 1985, we were told that the school no longer was going to be the school like we knew it, where everybody stayed and taught. So Tom and I were shipped to Korea. We spent wonderful time in Korea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, I've been amazed with the talent that's in our military bands. And of course, we kind of take them for granted here at Hampton Roads, but there's tremendous talent and an investment that's been made by the military. Why is that? I mean, when we think of the military, we think of weapons. Pardon me?
Oh, the generals want their bands. They truly want their bands. And the colonels want us too, to play for their ceremonies. Oh, yeah, that's what I did.
And then
that's what Tom did.
And then when 6,000 people come into the scope every year for tattoo, we see the love of military music.
Mm-hmm. True.
Stephanie, you're kind of nodding on that because I sense that there's some decisions and priorities that are made in our institutions and our higher education. You're teaching at Norfolk State now, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of challenges in our higher ed today, not just with COVID, but just in supporting higher ed. How does music fall into the importance of education in the higher ed?
Well, we want students that were in high school to continue their ventures in music. And it plays an important part for the students' lives. And it's an outlet for them. And I think that it's a wonderful structured outlet for them. And also for them to receive a degree in music if they want to either be a band director, or if they want to pursue in the performing arts field, or if they want to record and be in the recording industry. So I think it's very vital for them to participate and continue their education in music in higher ed, whether it be here, ODU, you know, any of the other colleges in the Hampton Roads area.
Right. Okay, Lisa, you see him in high school though, right?
In middle school, yes.
In middle school. In middle school.
Yes.
Okay, that's about the time you get that clarinet and you say, okay, go play it, right?
Yes, it's literally, here's how you open the case. So this is my 17th year as a middle school director. I actually followed John Brewington at Kempsville. He was the director there, and when I got out of college, and I taught at Kempsville Middle School for 8 years, and I now am in my 9th year at the school that I attended. That's where I teach now in Hampton. But yeah, these students come to me with, most cases, no instrumental experience whatsoever. They have a little bit of general music, depending on where they came from, you know, basic cymbals and rhythms, and then we turn that into little musicians. So it's quite rewarding.
Both my daughters went up through the choral route.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember that first, I don't know, first grade Christmas pageant thing. I was going to stay through the whole thing. And we made it through most of it, even though she was the first performer. But when we got to the junior high band, even I, who have no rhythm and can't count, could hear the fourth beat. Right? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? So as a middle school or high school teacher, how do you, I mean, is there a kid like Bob, me, that says maybe you want to go speak somewhere? I mean, how do you encourage a kid to play the clarinet, even if they're not that good?
I take, honestly, there's two aspects of my job that I think are the make or break of a program. And the first one is finding the right instrument for the child. I take a great deal of time to go through all the instruments, let them learn about them, let them hear them, you know, even if it's clips of, you know, young students playing and clips of professionals playing, so they know, I know they love it, I know they want to learn it, and then they can have the physical attributes that will allow them to be successful for that instrument. And then the second piece is the programming, and that's really gets them inspired to want to work towards a common goal, picking the right songs to motivate them and motivate the audience to support them. So it's kind of it's a puzzle in a sense. But I think, yeah, picking the right instrument is key.
So Stephanie, does that puzzle continue through college?
Oh, yes.
I noticed you reacted.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have to pick up where they left off.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have some music educators who did not do their best in teaching them. So you have to sometimes start all over, or sometimes just, you know, change bad habits or old habits. And then you have some wonderful diamonds in the rough as well that are excellent players, that if, you know, you have some prodigies that come through. I mean, you just have a crux of, you know, just many very, you know, stages of students. But on the college level, one thing that I love about it is that, you know, they have good instruction from the beginning. As Lisa was saying, as long as you have good instruction from the beginning, that you have a joy while they're here in college.
Now I can't let you go any further without talking about that marching band of yours.
Okay.
So you get a kid who shouldn't really be playing a clarinet, but nobody has the nerve to tell him he's not good. And then he wants to march on the football field because he can't play football. I'm talking about me.
Oh.
So
Okay.
What do you do?
Well, we have some students who have challenges, and then you have students on varying levels, and you just pair them with some good students. We have some very good leaders in the band. We have our good drum majors, Mr. Spartan and Captain Soul, that help. And it's really more student run,
Okay.
and they have a lot of participation in it. So they help each other out, and they're good self-motivators as well. And then us as directors, we just shape and mold them at the end.
So
And,
love, connection, those are some of the common themes I'm starting to hear. And passion, right?
It's a passion.
Okay, so
They
that
start
kid,
from the beginning.
so the
it
kid that
starts-
can't play clarinet
starts
worth
with-
beans, can't march, decides to join the Marine Corps, and ends up with Becky. Now what?
Well, I have taught over 300 kids in the Army and the Navy and the Marine Corps to play. So I've seen it all. We start early, right before school starts for them. And I see them, they come to me and introduce themselves and all that. But, get yourself in here. I have time. I will work with you. So we see what you need to work on before you ever become an official student.
Okay,
And
you mentioned that word I've been waiting for. And I'm going to use it as my segue to bet. Work. We talk a lot about
Oh,
passion,
yeah.
fun, and playing, but it really is a lot of work to become a professional performer. So Bet, I'm going to hit you up as the mom. Do you really have to practice?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have 3 sons who were all in music, and they're the one who played the baritone horn. The other 2 sang and played the piano pretty much, but the one who played baritone horn, his practice everybody knew about because everybody in the whole neighborhood practically could hear him practicing on that. But it takes a lot of work to be a good musician. I mean, but it pays off. It really pays off, especially for the students, because I think, I think it's pretty well known that music students are better in math. And my sons all did really well in school, and they loved being part of the camaraderie that was being in the band or the chorus. And that helps you when you're having to do the work, because you get the rewards of the being able to perform and have kind of like a family in the group.
Stephanie, you're nodding your head yes. On
Oh,
that
yeah.
one.
Yeah, it's rewarding when you see the kids on the field do wonderful job for their performances. When they're in the parade, they get to see themselves on TV. They get awards and things of that nature. And then also the camaraderie amongst each other, because I have lifelong friends for over 40 years, that we were in the band together when we started in middle school and high school. And so it's a wonderful thing, being with band and choir. So it's just so, and being in the arts in general, you create, and we're eccentric people that are in band, just like there's eccentric people that are in choir, those that are in the fine arts, those in the theater, and we have our own band families, we all have our little, idiosyncrasies, but we all get together to make a wonderful conglomeration called some beautiful music.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys to fill in this question, this sentence. I'll start, Lisa, with you. As a woman, I in the music, in this the family that she just talked about.
Well, I see myself as a role model for those students that are trying to get into the professional world. I've had students come follow me to try to get into education, percussionists, female percussionists wanting to learn from another female. So that's I like being in that role. I like being someone that they can certainly come to. And even in the classroom every day, they certainly see me as a nurturer and a mom myself. I have 3 children, and they have that connection. They know they can come to me with anything. Like Steph said, it's like a family. I mean, you do create that bond. So hopefully I am, a warm person for them to come to, that also helps me be a better teacher for them too, because they trust me and have that, build that relationship.
Becky, as a woman, in that environment.
I've held my own against the boys. And,
Yes.
and I'm very serious about that. I did 17 years in Virginia Opera and Virginia Symphony. I do extra to play because they need horn players at Governor's School. I play in that orchestra. I've just held my own. I've been in that horn section and played my butt off to keep up and do it.
You're giving me awesome segues, by the way, because I'm sitting here thinking the best thing I can do for the Tidewater Winds is to sit in the audience. But quite often when I go to performances of bands, I am looking at a male butt instead of a female butt. I mean, that's when you think of the big conductors, with the exception of our own Virginia Symphony, it's predominantly men, isn't it, that are raising the arms? Stephanie, you raise your arms, right?
Yes. I've had a double dose of it. Being in the band world, there's not too many women that are true leaders in the field, and also as being a Black woman, it's a challenge as well. So when you say as a woman, you try to be a motivator, and you try to have and to be inspiration for your students and for your community, because you don't know who you represent. We represent women in the field. I represent, African Americans that are in classical music, I work both genres. So I work on one side on the classical field, playing with symphony, as well as playing with the winds, playing with wind quintets, as well on the other side that I play in an R&B group and I play in a jazz group. And so I do things, and I have another life on the other side as well. But you have to be a motivator, because you have young girls that are in the field that see women like us, and that gives them the inspiration. Well, if my teacher can do it, then I can try to do that as well. And then what greater proof that you have is that you have a woman that can give you those experiences and can tell you what bumps in the road you might have, or what challenges that may come forth in life, and that you are already prepared then to just be, just to have that, just to be brushed up against you, and you're not equipped to be ready to, to face challenges and things that happen to you in the band world. It's hard being a band director. It's hard being a woman band director out there, and especially on the college field. We don't have that many women that are on the college field. So to do that, to be successful, and you have to each one teach one. You have to teach each other, and you have to motivate and inspire. And it's not just with the women. You inspire all your students, because you don't know how these students look at us from every day. And even with the COVID, we just see each other on the screen, but you don't know what their home situations are. You don't know what their life situations and what they have to encounter. And we have to inspire them, whether we're teaching private lessons like Becky's doing, or out there performing like all of us are doing, or teaching school. But we inspire and we motivate all of our students to just to be good people, as well as being good musicians,
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's awesome. That first time, Becky, you walked into the Little Creek School of Music, what were the expectations of you?
Well, I had already won the audition. They had already met me.
Okay.
And because the Army flew me down there to take the audition. And then when I got there, I had already met Tom, but I met everybody else on the faculty, and I was the only one in the brass. But we had more women coming in woodwinds, so it helped. I wasn't alone.
Gotcha. So the Winds were really a healthy place to be as a woman? I sure hope. Or were there issues?
Yeah. Well,
I got to tell you, Stephanie doesn't play poker real
it
well.
could be an issue.
I would lose a poker game any day.
So you got to be prepared for that. Lisa, I'm going to throw this one at you because I got to tell you, one of my biggest days of disillusionment, and I'm older than most of you here, was Karen Carpenter was more than a singer. It rocked my world when I saw her behind a drum kit. Because in the 70s, I didn't expect that.
Right.
Do you get that as a percussionist?
Absolutely.
Ooh, I hit a nerve?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been, that way you walk out onto the field and someone sees you for the first time with a drum strapped on and they're like, wait a minute, who are you carrying that for? And that's, that kind of thing. And then it, you go to the center of the line, they realize you're the captain, and there's a, kind of a surprise, and then like Stephanie says, you have all these students and other people, taking note and watching, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I can do that. And it's a good thing. It's awesome to lay that path and see, inspire, potentially other students to do the same thing. And it doesn't matter what instrument, breaking through those walls is very important. But I've seen that, I've been on the golf team. I tend to, I guess I haven't followed those limitations very much in my life, but certainly I love what I do, but I feel very comfortable in the percussion section. And
Ben, I want to ask you, because see, when I think of you two as a couple, I see you as a couple. And as a board member for Tidewater Winds, you've been extremely inspirational as a board member and even as a couples participant. But yet the board is primarily men, but that doesn't seem to have bothered you. You've kind of taken Stephanie's school and said, by damn, I'm gonna produce, right?
Well, talk about as a woman, we really need women on the board. And, the board is pretty much mostly men. So, and every different organization, I think it's good to have both men and women making decisions, because there are things that happen that really need, more of the female touch, as it were. And so, sometimes you feel, like we're definitely in the minority, but I think it's good that we have the opportunity to contribute as women, and and especially having, like Becky being on the board as well as a musician. I think, having a whole lot of different perspectives is very helpful, because when we make the decisions about how the band is going to perform and where the money's coming from, and all the different things that we have to consider, it's great to have as many different perspectives and as many different backgrounds, people coming from different walks of life and different organizations, that we can come together and make good decisions.
Now, don't tell anybody, I make a confession here. Guys tend to talk about it at the board level. Women come in and say, okay, I vote yes, and here's what I've done already. There's Stephanie again, nodding her head yes, right? Get it done, right? Let's talk about the world that we're in today with music. Bet you spend a lot of time in the real battlefield of politics, working with senators and congressmen. There's choices that have to be made. Where does music fall in some of the choices that we've got to make when it comes to, let's face it, budgets?
Well, it's always a tough decision, and I think you you know, and it depends on what level you're on, whether you're on the local level, the state level, or the federal level. But the there are a lot of different ways of looking at it, and some people don't like to think that, you know, the arts and music are getting a lot of the share of the funds, because they talk about, you know, we need to feed the hungry and, you know, that kind of thing. But there are a lot of people that I've worked with in different levels, state and federal level of government, who know that the arts are very important, and they play a big role in the development of students, as well as the, you know, just the general well-being of the population. I think music is the universal language. And when people can come together and hear great music, it's almost like a healing, you get a healing from it almost. And it's very important now with everything that's going on with the pandemic and the different things, the fires and the, you know, the different problems that we're having in the world. It's so nice that people can kind of get away from it all and enjoy some music together, just kind of soothe your soul. I think that that's the beauty really of having a band like the Tidewater Winds, where people can come and get a free concert and enjoy wonderful music. And anybody that's familiar with Tidewater Winds knows that Maestro Brewington is fabulous at introducing the numbers and telling the background of how the piece was written, or when it was contrived or whatever, and explaining, you know, why he chose that piece. And he's just a master at that. And so people really, you know, enjoy coming, kind of putting the rest of the problems of the world aside for that time, and getting together and enjoying music, and it just lifts your spirit and gives you a whole new outlook. Yeah. And I think, you know, being part of the board that can help continue that is very important.
You know, and I think in looking back in some of those stories that Maestro Brewington tells, a lot of some of the masterpieces that you all play were actually created in times of strife. You know, in that, so where we say, woe is us, I mean, the arts and music survived some of the worst things that civilization's gone through, and has become richer and stronger. It's really been exciting, and so much of the inspiration. Becky, I'm going to ask you about those choices. Again, going back to the School of Music, and you've got a sergeant who knows that if he's going to play, he or she is going to play the horn, that she may stay a sergeant, that the military career track isn't that way. Or Lisa, you know, you get the girl that loves playing that clarinet, but the doctors, the father says, I want you to be a doctor, and you've got to quit wasting time on that. And Stephanie, I'm sure you get the same thing, but I really want to play in the band. No, you need to play football because you can get an NFL contract.
Yeah.
So have you run into that?
Absolutely.
I have two wonderful stories. When I was teaching public school, my head drum major was not a music major, and he was an awesome trumpet player. His name was Juan Serrata. That's when I was teaching in Houston, Texas, and now he is a head surgeon for pediatrics in Houston. My number three student in the high school class, when she was a senior, she was my French horn section leader. And she now does pediatrics as well. I have a student here that works for CHKD, and we had a student in the band some years ago that needed to go because if they're under 18, they have to go to CHKD for, to get assistance. And it was just a blessing just to see her smiling face to come through, because she was part of the band. She was a section leader in the band, and she understands what you have to go through, and the care and love that you get. We shape and mold kids from various backgrounds, and they don't have to be music majors. we're not as a true military unit like with Becky is being with it in service, but music is a semi, military group. So you learn a lot about discipline, and it helps you to be well-rounded. And so that's what the big fight is. And I love what Miss Kate was telling us about having to support the arts, is because it makes you well-rounded. It makes you learn how to communicate with others. It makes you learn how to have those wonderful social skills. It makes you learn how to do math, because I wanted to be a math major myself. I did well in math as well if I didn't do music. It talks about history. You learn the backgrounds of the different composers and why these pieces were composed. That's why I love when John Brewington gives you the little background or that little trivia, the good, I call it, as a student, say the tea on some of the background of the music. It makes it interesting. And then with our audience, it creates, as I teach my students about the doctrine of ethos. The doctrine of ethos is that music affects your mood. And especially with this pandemic and all, Black Lives Matters and all of the different things that we're dealing with, just to ease your mind for an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours, or to think of yesteryear. You can remember these songs during certain period of time. And it's just something that to ease your mind, and it creates a wonderful mood for you. And it just affects our soul. So it's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah, another confession. I went to pick up dinner at a restaurant, takeout. Had my wife here. She says, "What's taking you so long?" I said, "They got some really good tunes on. I'm just chilling." Don't tell her I said that. But what? Okay, one more question on the rewards of. I mean, in America, that's how we check the box on how successful we are. So Becky, in that decision about career paths in the military, number one, female, when you went through. Number two, musician rather than a battle tactician. Were there some decisions you had to make?
I'm having trouble hearing you, but can you come closer to the mic or something?
Okay. So as far as making career decisions in the military and being a musician and a female, did you know going in that there aren't many generals of music?
No. I mean, I was hired to teach horn. That's really pretty much what
That's what you want.
I never got out to the field until Korea. So, yeah, we were all in our little offices to teach the instruments.
So when you put the focus on the music and the performance, and you learn what the expectations are, you all have been successful because you knew the rules of the road and you followed, and you designed them, you developed them, right? One last question I'm going to ask all of you, and this is one that was given to me. What message do you want to give to our audience, and especially young ladies, about that have an aspiration for the arts? Should they pursue it?
Absolutely. I think the biggest message is you can do whatever you put your mind to. And how you do it, surround yourself with people that are better than you and that are positive and that you can learn from, and never stop asking questions.
Stephanie?
I want to piggyback what Lisa said. You stop asking questions when you cannot make roll call in the morning.
I love that. Becky, what do you want to say to the aspiring young lady?
Enjoy music. Not necessarily think you're going to be in a first-rate orchestra or something like that, unless you really want to do it. And I've had students, I've said, it's a tough field. It's very tough. And you better think about it before you want to do it.
Awesome. Beth, what do you have to say to that young lady?
I say, get involved. Do whatever, the music is something that is a universal language. As I said before, people of all, walks of life and countries and everything enjoy music, and being part of a group that does music, or even just study music, is going to make your, enhance your life. And we need more women involved in everything, you know, kind of this is the year of the woman, they say. And so we're always, you know, needing to encourage young women to, you know, take that step. Don't be hesitant, you know, get involved, and whatever field you want to be in, whether it's music or engineering or whatever, you know, don't let the fact that you're a female hold you back. You know, take that step and get involved and better your life, and you'll be better off because of that.
You have given me an absolutely awesome time by having the privilege and the opportunity to talk with you all and have a good conversation. And I can tell you that as that guy that sits in the audience, you make Tidewater Winds what it is. And I know, Becky, you have another horn player just off camera. But the beauty of the Tidewater Winds is it really is the essence of what makes Hampton Roads work. And that in spite of what we might be going through today with COVID and everything else going on, it's important to pull out those old CDs and listen to it. If you want to know more about Tidewater Winds, come to their website and find out more. But also keep Tidewater Winds in your thoughts, prayers, and pocketbook, because even though those free concerts aren't going on today as we know them, they are doing all kinds of cool stuff when it comes to education. We could do this for another hour to talk about the great stuff that Tidewater Winds is doing, but they need your support. They need your help in maybe pulling out that credit card and saying, I'm going to help bridge the time. It's because there is going to be life after COVID. And I tell you what, the ones to watch out for and controlling the world and doing what needs to be done, the musicians, because they know math, they know science, they know it all. And they're confident on that stage, right?
Right.
Because they know how to get things done. Thank you for being with me for this last 45 minutes, hour. It's been awesome. And thanks for being with the Tidewater Winds for another 35 years, Becky.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
I don't know that I'll last that long, though.
Yes, you will.
I'm probably older than you are, Bob.
On that note, goodbye.